Hello and welcome.
Just teasing.
Can that be that you can make that as an outtake, Joel, at the end of the episode?
Right.
Just clink that on.
Hello and welcome. I'm your benevolent host, Westfox, joined by Shepard and Southhound. It's another episode of Star Trek Picard to talk about. So we're going to get going on this one. We have a lot to talk about for this episode. Well, kind of a lot to talk about. To be honest, not much happened in this episode other than a lot of nothingness, really, to be honest. But we do have some interesting things to talk about. And really, we'll start out here with the general plot, which was getting the crew together. Pretty much is what happened in this episode. Any thoughts from you guys on the opening part?
Yeah, it's Picard collects his crew. That's the episode.
Let's make more questions
generic
for the audience.
Exposition. Please like these people. That's how I would put it in 30 seconds.
A lot of questions. Just
a lot of questions.
Many more questions and no answers.
Yeah, and there's a lot of little sitting around. So essentially, Picard, they do an opening scene where they show a little bit more of the planet being destroyed, which is weird. They keep showing that at the beginning of every episode, which is kind of now it's like, okay, don't tease us.
Yeah,
they
weird.
show 14 years ago.
Explain it or go on.
Right. So then they show 14 years ago with him and his old first officer discussing him leaving Starfleet. Boom, that happens. Then they move on to, I think, the cube.
Oh, she was his first officer?
I believe so. From what?
Yeah, she was supposed to be his first officer.
I thought secretary.
No, I think she was supposed to be. I think she was supposed to be
that.
his first officer because I think it's in the comics.
She was a first officer,
something.
although I don't think she's a commander. I think she was a lieutenant commander, and I think it shows
Yeah,
it
the
on
pips.
her. We can
the pips
see on
lie.
her on the pips.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say the pips lie because she was no commander.
Yeah, I thought that's what she was supposed to be or whatnot. Anyway, so blah blah things happen and they end up on a ship.
Yeah,
I mean,
Isn't it weird that they're using the Voyager badges?
There's a fight.
Oh, there was a fight. Yeah. So that's pretty much, you brought a point.
You mean because she was using the Voyager? Well, he used the Voyager badge in Nemesis, and I think.
Yeah, no, the Voyager badge that would work
So that's
because
why
it's
it's
14
the
years ago.
Voyager
That'd be
badge.
fine. That would be real. I don't complain about that one.
I was just
Because
curious.
that badge
'cause
would have been the one he
I
would
was
have
just
used
curious.
to
I was like,
contact her.
oh, that's the Voyager badge.
Yeah, I think they had that
Yeah.
in First Contact time frame and Nemesis. I believe they are using that comm badge.
Yes,
I'd
they
have
are.
to double check.
Really?
to
I
be
thought
sure.
it was that Circle D one. That big.
Nope, that was only in TNG itself. I think in the movie, other than Generations, when they got to the movie, I think they started
Yeah,
all the
I think so.
Enterprise E
Did
movies.
they?
It's
Okay.
actually
Yeah, I'm
the
pretty sure.
Voyager.
I've always attributed it to Voyager, but that's fair. I was just
Okay.
curious.
So let's get into our main
Irrelevant.
the big section. Really, I think in this episode, since there's new characters being introduced, I think we're going to break it down by character. And my list here is ranked from best to worst in this case. So in this episode, Jean-Luc is obviously still the best character. Yeah, JL.
JL.
That is
buddy, JL.
blasphemy. I don't even like Picard, and that's blasphemy.
It's a weird, overly familiar thing to just make it seem familiar. And that's done by the character Raffi, who it always sounds like they're saying Ralphie, but according to the spelling says it's Raffi, which I prefer that, like Raffi. It makes
She's the
more
riff
sense.
Raffi.
We all thought they kind of weirdly alluded to that they had some kind of history together. So the best and worst parts of this episode are, well, I should say all the worst parts involve Raffi. This character is just bad.
But there's a lot of bad parts.
There's a
She's
lot of
just
bad.
The best of the
So
bad.
Of the
I guess we'll
best.
get into her because her and Picard's interactions are probably the most of the story. So they start out here where we ended up on the last episode, and he's kind of bribing her to talk, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll talk. So we're gonna go up to there. Oh, and then they cut back to him leaving Starfleet. So this was a really bad scene to me, mostly because they went from like during the interaction she's talking about, and we've all agreed on this part. I had verbal whiplash from her character throughout this episode. So there's 1 second she's like, "Oh, did you give him everything you got? Did you give him the 100%. He's like, yeah. And they called me on it and they said, he's like, I gave him my hardest card, which is to leave Starfleet. And they're like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And then she's like, oh. And then she gets a
Arrogance
text
on
message
his part.
essentially.
I'm sorry. I think arrogance on his part.
And that's fine. I mean, the whole situation just doesn't work for me in the perspective.
No,
of
it doesn't.
So it's kind of hard for me to go, is that bad or good? But what happens is she gets a text message or an email saying, come visit the staff room. And she's like, well, now I'm fired. You suck. I hate you. And you're like,
that's not how Starfleet works.
yeah, that's not how any command structure generally works.
No.
But, the worst thing you would get
Maybe
is
Hollywood.
I mean,
That's how Hollywood works.
It's like, it's not even a demotion. It's like you're getting fired because of what your superior did. I'm sitting there going, well, that's not even like that. That follows no rules of military.
and her reaction to him, she wasn't like, I know you tried your best. This is going to suck. I got to go.
Or this is horrible that they're trying to pass along even to me, or like something else. Yeah, it's like
just
immediately,
straight up, just
you're
like,
a jerk.
Yeah, and I did not understand how like she went from there, and they seemed like they, like I said, they had this like kind of, it felt like a dating relationship, romantic, possibly weirdness thing going on.
A career gold digger. She's like, well, if I'm under Picard, I'll go places. And then it didn't work out for her. And then she's like, well, you're terrible. And she was going to go find another sugar captain and didn't find one, apparently.
Yeah, because that goes into our, because that cuts ahead until we get to, the present. And
Sugar captain.
here we have her, them doing some of the most millennial stuff I've ever seen.
It's like
my
rolling
gosh.
a joint in front of you. That's like what it was. It was like chopping cocaine in for the 80s or rolling a joint in front of you and then smoking.
Ready?
It was like,
Let's see. I think that. Oh, there we go. She had her vaping. Oh my gosh. I have no problem that the idea that in the future there'll still be drugs, and there might be like cigars per se. But I mean, I do recall an episode of Voyager where Tom Harris says to a female alien that humans quit smoking a long time ago.
yes.
Actually, you're right.
I will accept that people still smoke cigars as they're kind of call them a culturally earth thing to do, right? People still drink, and even though alcohol is not the best for you, people still drink alcohol in Star Trek.
Well, and admittedly, when it
used to be
when it
synthahol.
first started, like when she first like put the little tea, the leaf into the thing, I'm going, okay, and then I
thought she was going to smoke
her lips, and
I thought she was going to smoke crack. Like literally,
Well-
I saw the glass pipe. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to smoke crack right in front of us.
There is definitely like a modern day.
I didn't even know what she was doing at first. I'm like, okay, then I started seeing her bringing it up to her mouth like this, and I was going, wait, really? And then I'm like, so they're doing vaping, but then like you said, at first I was just vaping, but then when she's like, oh, it's snake leaf, and like paranoia, I'm like, okay, well that's a marijuana reference. Like,
Yeah,
there's,
I feel like that's pretty much a marijuana reference there.
I was like, seriously? Like,
Yeah, this whole
the only way they could have been worse if she called it OG snake leaf. So you really know what you're getting.
Honolulu Smash. You go in, and so so this whole interaction here between these two, it's just painful. And then they go, she runs off having a temper tantrum. We discussed the part where, she's like, you're rich, Picard, and I'm poor. And watch this clip here, and I'll describe why that sucks.
Money doesn't exist in the 24th century.
No money. You mean you don't get paid?
The acquisition of wealth is no longer the driving force in our lives.
Sitting back in your very fine chateau. Big oak beams, heirloom furniture. Yeah, I'd show you around my estate, but it's more of a hovel, so that would just be, humiliating.
Unmitigated disaster.
So
That'll come up again,
Even
by the
Picard
I know.
thinks that this is a disaster, obviously. But the interaction just doesn't make sense. That she's blaming him, and now it's 14 years later. She never found anything to do. She was blacklisted that hard. Her theory that the Romulans were behind stuff was the first thing that I believe you said, Southhound, about stuff, and I think we all were speculating in the sense of, what's these tie-ins together? Like, oh, they so anti these synthetics that they'll kill their own planet. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Again, the motivations
Apparently.
here.
Well, but it also makes it worse is now the implication is Starfleet is complicit in this Jean Valjeans or whatever they're called, trying to then bomb Mars, and what they're doing now. They made that pretty much the intent of saying like, well, just Starfleet's pretty much was okay with it. They were
Well,
actively
yeah,
part
but we're
of
still
it.
not. We still don't know if Commodore O
If that's Commodore O.
is. I know they called her a Vulcan. Well, that's what he said. That's meaningless.
We're still confused by that. Yeah, we're still unsure
I know,
on that.
but it's like, well, the thing is, clearly she's trying to be a Vulcan to Starfleet.
Well, which is
Now,
what
whether she really is.
That was
something.
that was assumed.
Yeah, that was that scene where she pops up with the glasses. Oh my God, Sarah. We'll
That was
we'll get there.
hilarious.
We're good. Next thing we go to the cube. We'll go to the cube here, kind of in the space. I know it's slightly out of order of our characters, but at least you can see what we think of each one. We're gonna put this. I put this under the category of people on the cube because pretty much at this point we still have no idea what's going on. There's just a lot of randomly saying things such as, "Oh, there's Romulan tarot cards that look just like human ones, except for the triangles, so that's alien." There's now, a secret cabal. Now there's myths inside of myths for the Borg, which I'm not totally against that one because I feel like there is a little bit of that in Voyager with the whole like Matrix Zero stuff.
True.
But I feel like they're missing the point of that stuff.
But it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't mythos. They actually created a separate subroutine that they could access while still being in the collective.
And then there's a
it
line
got
that she
snuffed
said,
out.
Well, and there's a line that the one Dosh or whatever her name is says
Dosh
where it's
2.0.
like
Dosh
the
2.0.
Romulan says news, and she's like, "Oh, you mean like a construct of blah 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 blah?" And I was like,
But to you,
That was
it's
supposed to be
news.
deep, but it didn't
That's
make it.
perfect. Well, not only that, they intentionally conflated mythology with scripture. They went other way. They're like mythology, they're like scripture, or like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, screw you. But then news all of a sudden was like, yes, that is true fundamental of any culture. I'm like, where's the CNN logo? I'm waiting for a Pepsi can with CNN on it.
It's just silly. Like, it doesn't even make sense in the context. It's like someone was wanting to write that in there and be like, "Oh, look at this. It's involving modern day politics." And you're like, "Yeah, but it doesn't even make sense to the context."
The politics was apparent in this one.
Well, and also too, you have the thing where like she's speaking languages to these people, and I'm like, so what I recall in the Universal Translator is you hear what in your language what the thing is saying to you. So pretty much anyone should hear what language that they're doing. You can speak other languages if you choose to without a translator. So,
but most people, why? What's the point?
Yeah, well, in some languages, why would you learn every language stuff like other than maybe Klingon and stuff like that because that's become a big part of the space. But yeah, that doesn't make sense. So
studies anthropology, which is the study of human beings, and she's on a Borg cube when they're more focused on Romulans.
I'm sure they expanded the definition in this case to like, galactic anthropology because I think that Picard had a
it'd be xenophology.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna expand it, you use real words, right?
maybe they used words. Then there's this Romulan dude, which we have no idea what his thing is going on.
Is he
obviously
Romulan? I don't think he's
No,
Oh
he's
no,
not
sorry. He was this slave race that we've never heard of who looks absolutely human. It's so weird how every alien now in Star Trek, unfortunately, they don't even try to paint the colors or do things like Neelix, where they had really nice small detail work. Or
he's not human?
No, he's not human. No, he's
some slave race.
He said he's like a slave race or something.
No, I thought he was just saying us XP, like as in former assimilated. He looks like a former assimilated person.
Yeah, he was formerly assimilated.
Yeah, like Windows XP, like don't run Windows XP.
Is that what they're saying? Oh, if that's even dumb.
I swear, when I heard XPs, I was like, Windows XP, don't run it. You're right. They're bad. You should shelve that.
Was he saying P or was he saying XB?
I thought he was saying some kind of alien race that he's part of.
I heard XP, but
well, then he still doesn't make sense because then if he's human, he'd be human, and then if he's not, then he have like Romulan. He's not Romulan because they said the 27 Romulans were the only ones supposedly assimilated, which I don't know if that's not.
I just figured he was former human.
Okay.
And he was former Borg. That's what I assumed.
It also brings into more because then I'm really confused who's working on this Borg thing. Because I know
it's the Romulans. The Romulans still own it. He says that. He goes, our hosts.
I know our host, the Romulan benefactors, but it's like, then who are these scientists exactly? Then who are these part of? Are these somehow going to be part of Maddox?
Well, that goes into this what she's doing, and then we'll just scroll through blah 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 blah. Yeah, back to here. It's terrible. So the Borg stuff, and we'll scroll up to the Borg stuff again.
The only thing worse than her character, Ralphie, whatever, is the dialogue in this entire story.
We'll skip past that, but we'll get to the Borg. So here, back in the cube again here. And
Dumbest
when it doesn't make any sense.
weird.
when this lady grabs the phaser
facade
from the
door
guy,
card.
the phaser from the side thing later on here, blah 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 blah.
Which one are you?
You know what the dumbest thing
Which
about that
one
was?
are you?
She's like, no, it was, there's the moon. And then she's like, oh, it's the false Romulan door. She's like, oh, clearly she wants me to sit behind her and talk to the back of her head.
Right? That didn't make any
What?
sense to me either. I was like, that's a big giant leap of logic. I don't
who
understand
writes
like
this?
this cutting too. Like just finish a scene.
Well, yeah,
quit cutting
they spend
between
all
scenes.
day on Earth, and yet they're still taking 5 minutes on the cube.
Yeah, it's just a waste of time. So everything on the cube is stupid so far. It doesn't make any sense. The interactions are dumb. All we know is, oh, now there's some legend, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and he has his
Creepy
sister.
sibling time.
They were so going to make out.
Creepy-
I
creepy
called this the
sibling time.
first time, but they're so making out. Sometimes it's happening.
Yeah, no, they
creepy.
definitely have had. They've definitely
It's
had.
creepy.
They've definitely had
incest
intercourse.
relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, they've definitely had intercourse, these two. Because she's like, I could smell her on you, even though she's like fake. I'm like,
They're gonna
okay, it
find
was
out
creepy
they're
when she was
step-siblings.
digital, but this is clearly incest.
It's okay.
It's-
They're gonna be like, no, we're not blood related. It's okay. You're my adopted brother.
My adopted.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're like, you've been watching far too much Japanese anime. It obviously. Writing this.
Seriously.
So we'll go back to. Sorry, we've been jumping around, but because it's kind of the story jumps around, so it makes it harder to keep it in.
That's
track.
true.
So we're back to here where she goes, Picard, go away. I hate you so much, but I'm gonna get you a ship. Go away, you suck.
But here's your captain.
That pretty much sums up everything involving this scene here. Yeah, so back to the cube where blah happens.
Plus, she's so smart and she knows things that no one else knows, and she still couldn't get a job. I'm still confused on why she couldn't get a job to better herself, to push forward.
Do the Ferengi wouldn't hire you? Like honestly, my
right?
thought was when the captain, this captain would get here. Oh yeah, this scene here.
I thought Starfleet was able to fight against adversity. I thought that
All
was
I can
the
hear in my
point. So when you
mind,
get
Joel, is
fired,
the CSI Miami. You know,
Oh no,
Horatio.
I was thinking cosplay Men in Black mashup. I was thinking Men in Black cosplay mashup. Like I don't even know. Like I don't even know what she's doing. Like why they just have her show up. Like
honestly, here's my
Christopher, I think you got it. That's funny. Yeah, right? You can just be like, hello, I'm Commodore O, and I need to know about where Picard is. That.
yeah,
But even
those both
beyond
are
that,
pretty
I'm,
good. Those are
even
both.
beyond that, I'm just sitting there going, did they just forget that she was wearing sunglasses?
Yes.
Film,
Could-
because it's like she's in a shaded area.
maybe she was really hungover that night. She was like, I just can't film today. I'm so annoyed. And they're like,
Romulan ale
They're like, just throw some, they're like, just throw some sunglasses on her. It's
right.
fine. Like, I don't even understand why. as
Also,
an actress,
ladies,
like,
ladies, this is why you do not wear headphones in the middle of the day where you can't hear anybody. Someone will sneak and creep up on you, and it may not be a Romulan female superior. Just saying, just something to keep in mind.
I mean, yeah. Anyway,
Safety.
PSA.
PSA from Philip. All right.
Public service announcement.
But this made no sense. Like I said, she showed up. We pulled our doctor character, who now is obviously a cameo character at this point now, which is bizarre again too. I don't understand because they've developed these characters and they're like, we're not going to have you around much longer than this. So what do we go to next? Like I said, it's kind of jumping around. Oh, back to the cube. Like I said, blah 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 blah.
Why does this guy not know anything?
Oh yes.
Well,
so
see, okay.
introduction to our. Here we go.
It wasn't that he didn't know anything. It's the fact that Dodge is now having information access that he doesn't have because she clearly has Borg parts in her. And she would know that this guy was assimilated and that she was assimilated in the last ship.
Correct. Yeah,
That's what they're unveiling, something we've already called in the first episode. All right, she's clearly Borg.
Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like, she
So
already has
they
those
put it on
clearly
our new
access,
ship,
it's like,
which obviously looks like they actually spent some money to build this set.
Yeah.
screw them for playing the TNG theme and even having a partial of it at this
I knew you were
moment.
gonna
I'm
say
just
that. I get
calling
you're
that
saying
because
it-
that.
yeah, it's fake
I'm sorry.
emotional
You know
stuff.
what? Don't throw in the nostalgia now.
So
Like, don't.
so we got the scene here where
What I don't understand is it's an unregistered ship, which is stupid. Because, yeah, whatever.
how do you have
and
a registered ship hovering over Earth in the most
Yeah,
populated
that
scan-
also
yes.
has Federation Starfleet technology. I mean, it's clearly not a Federation ship because it has no similar designs, yet it has all the transporters, it has all the heads up, it's all the access that we'd expect. So I'm curious as to where would you get all the technology to do that? Did Starfleet have a surplus sale to just let people purchase whatever they wanted for random ships and then it's unregistered? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they did that right before Romulus needed to be saved, and they're like, "Oh, that was a really bad idea. We could have used those mothballed ships."
I don't really know on that
mothballed
one, to
ships.
be honest. And it doesn't really, honestly, they've done so little on expanding lore I actually care about in the story.
That's fair.
This one actually is one of those things where I'm like, oh, it's Earth technology. Not the Federation probably doesn't own every piece of Earth technology in the sense of like what's developed. Things probably bleed over, right? Just like the military stuff bleeds over in time. So I would expect that when it comes to starships, that they're like, yeah, we can't be like, oh, no one's ever going to figure out how you do this thing. I figure there's a lot of spare parts and things are just replicated and just makes
No,
sense.
that's fair. Not to mention,
Yeah.
what does having clean bolts and anything in your ship have to do with being in Starfleet when you clearly can just tell your EMHs to do everything? It's not like he went and cleaned all of his
Well,
stuff.
and it also goes in the space of that they're just telling you what the character is. They're not
Yes.
showing us the
Yes.
character. They're
Terrible.
like, they're like, we're just going to tell you who this guy is. And you're like,
You're Starfleet,
Cool.
but you're macho. And the things they do show us are stupid, like
And so it took
leaving
me-
open gaping wounds
it took
on
me a
your
second.
body.
Well, we'll get to that. It took me a second
Blow smoke
to,
into wound.
to
That'll heal it.
understand that. I was like, is he all of his own EMHs? And it looks like he is.
It looks like he is.
He does seem like the most, and we're all fans of cigars, so we kind of giving him a lot of leeway because of that, I think. But
Plus,
this
the lighter
scene
does
here-
look pretty cool.
This scene here, though, with this wound is he literally has it removed from him, which is fine. Okay, from the doctor, this whole interaction here, and Picard's
It's
like,
such a
"You're
dumb scene.
And then-
I'm sorry, it's so
and
dumb.
now replicators, which I don't have a care about in the sense of progression technology, obviously can just replicate stuff anywhere.
Anywhere.
It's an Asgard ship. I'm
just
telling you, we're
replicating
having a Stargate crossover. It's happening right in front of our eyes.
So we have them talking, blah, 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 which is fine. Picard's convincing him to do his thing. It's all exposition and meaningless stuff. So
Yes.
he gets the thing pulled out of him. So he has essentially something gashed in a couple inches. And he's like, cool, don't heal me up, just remove it. And then he goes over and puts his shirt on. I was like, oh, he's probably going to, I thought he took the tool from the Dr. EMH.
That's what I thought.
I thought he was going to
That's
sit
what
there
I thought.
and do it. No, watch this. Ready? Oh, I'm just going to put my shirt on over a 3-inch gash without healing it. Like,
With no pain and no lack of
No,
able
he
to
did
move.
wince. He did give a little wince there.
I don't
Phil.
care.
There was a
I don't
little
care if he
at least.
winces.
that's ridiculous. You're
You
going to
wouldn't
hurt
move
so
your
bad.
arm.
It's
it's
dumb.
so
It was a dumb scene.
dumb.
Now, granted, this captain does seem like he might be interesting if they don't overplay the young and edgy element of him. He's an edgy captain because I feel like they're trying to push that way harder than
Yes.
the edgy captain
but yet he's
with a
but
heart
yet
of
he's
gold.
But yet he's the Starfleet regulation good boy.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they're
Which
going to...
also, why would Picard want that?
Exactly.
Isn't Picard
Well-
maybe wanting to not be with that kind of thing? I mean, in the
I don't
sense
know.
of, do you
That's-
want to be around Starfleet regulation types? Do you
Yeah.
want to be anyone who is involved
Well,
with Starfleet
clearly this
at
guy
this
doesn't
point?
care.
Yeah, it's too
Well,
hard.
yeah, because he
to
wants
dig that deep
comfort.
into-
He wants someone who's willing to break the rules, but is also someone he'd be comfortable with because he knows he's not going to turn around and
That's fair.
stab
That's fair.
or sell him
Yeah,
to the Ferengi.
That's fair.
I guess.
And
Okay.
honestly, that was my thought when we saw he was another human captain. I honestly was like, oh, why wasn't this guy a Ferengi? I would have loved if this guy was a Ferengi and was like a Quark relative or something. They're like, yeah,
That would
we
be
know.
hysterical.
Well, and also that ties a little bit in. Well, we'll get to that.
But
It ties-
Ferengi aren't sexy, so
right?
you need to have the
Well,
steamy.
and that ties into
male.
to Raffi, which is she's an one point on her. I know we're jumping down the list of characters. To me, she is a character we didn't need. This
Yes.
character here should have been introduced by our Romulan lady or gentleman to be Zabal or Laris, Zaban or Laris, who are still my two favorite characters after Picard so far. They should have introduced him because they are the ones who are in the spy world. And they should have been like, well, we do know this one Starfleet captain that we occasionally, talk to. Shifty eye, like,
Yeah, that would have been.
this whole other character did not be added to this.
Well, especially since there's clearly something secret about him and his ship. Do we know anything about the ship? Is that anything like his mission of this secret ship? What that's actually
Not that I know of.
that been alluded to anywhere else before?
Not that I'm aware of. Maybe.
Oh, the one that was erased by the Federation.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're talking
his
about
mission
that.
that-
What a
Like we were
random
talking about
throwaway
there.
line. Again, that's
Another-
typical
I was like,
mystery
what?
box BS.
No.
Yeah, I was a captain. I was the second on a ship that's been erased by Starfleet. I'd be like, that's a weird thing to bring up on our first meeting.
and know about it, and no one's
First date.
Well, considering the following
I mean,
scene here, ready?
Haven't even bought me dinner.
she's investigating stuff, and something comes up, and they're like, "Oh, look there's this city free
was
cloud."
that a file that she was reading through, or was that like a notification on her?
It was just a bunch of VFX text
Bull
on a screen,
nonsense.
so there's nothing that makes
so horrible
sense.
looking.
It's just a lot of noise, visual noise, which is fine. It's visual effects.
Completely.
I don't totally hate that kind of stuff
Also,
because that's
lens flares. I'm so 3 episodes in, and I've seen more lens flares.
Yeah,
Then-
they could definitely tone down that. It's a very dark show color palette wise. I wouldn't mind them at least contrasting this stuff. Like this scene right here, it's up on the screen where it's like his bedroom with his
Right.
like ulterior doctor therapist self. I honestly feel like this guy might have a split personality, and he just programs one version of his personality into his EMH as
Yeah,
it comes
he's clearly
up.
a giant narcissist.
Yeah, so it's also kind of hilarious. Like honestly, these are the kind of things that if you're to do a show, I wouldn't actually hate the idea that you're like, oh, what's
Sure.
so quirky? The problem, it has been a little overused because the idea of like a bipolar computer system has been used now in 2 franchises, both Destiny and then another one.
Star Wars.
Well,
No, the planet one.
Halo's technically done it.
Well,
but-
yeah, Halo. So Halo's Destiny, and then Forbidden Planet. No, the Savage Planet has like character like that, I think too. That like is a bipolar computer. That's like 1 second, like, hey,
like I said,
we shouldn't do that. Oh, let's kill him. That kind of thing. I feel like that's where this
You
character.
had that stupid Robo Freedom from Solo.
Well, and the question is, are these guys sentient, somewhat sentient too? Because I feel like holograms are almost more dangerous than synthetics. And
I agree.
in the sense
Oh,
of,
I
if
agree.
you're,
especially
like,
with
because they can pass through things. They can like.
And don't they use that in the canon of Voyager?
And the
Yes.
whole
Where-
Robert
yes, the hologram
Picardo.
who grabs someone's heart.
Yes, the doctor when he's evil doctor is legitimately terrifying.
Yeah. Do we remember
even
Robert
7 and 9
Picardo?
was like-
That was his whole drive. You're telling me that Robert Picardo, his EMH, finally gets to Earth. And remember in the when he gets back, he's married to that blonde bombshell. He's like, this is my wife. And she's like 6'2".
And his name's
legs
Joe.
up to his eyes.
Joe?
It was super, she's
It's
like,
like,
oh,
how
yeah,
many
what?
years and you came up with Joe?
Joe, yeah,
That is
right?
true. That was a pretty
So
funny.
okay, so you're telling me that he comes back to Earth, and we know how Starfleet is that he wouldn't be running for EMH rights for freedom instead of them working on planetoids?
Well, and again,
Photons be free,
Again, it's a
all
whole
that
bunch-
crap?
Well,
Photons
and that goes. We talked about last episode though, which is, what level are you programming it? Just because something has a face doesn't mean it's sentient. Just
Well,
because
it's true.
Just because what you have a technology is the goal of it to be sentient. Is it just designed to have a look like something and be sentient, or?
But they keep conflating that.
Yeah, and that's-
because they're
that's
like, oh, why didn't we use the labor? The labor. They're like, well, we're closing down all sentient or all synthetic life forms. I'm like, wait a minute, are they just labor drones or are they actually synthetic life forms?
Ooh, pause
Pick-
right
pick-
there, Joel.
pick a
Go-
lane.
No, go back.
right here.
Be with me. Be with me.
That's funny. So this scene is one of the ones. Yeah, that's funny. So this is another scene here coming up where, again, why I like the Laris and Zaban, and I wish that they were actually coming along on the journey far more than.
But
they,
how this scene starts.
Oh no, this scene's
horrible.
terrible. No,
It's-
this is
The
The
way
whole
he
thing's
drops the
stupid.
apple.
it's a bad.
The way he
scene.
drops the apple, and then it's like, then he just
Oh, it's-
leans down
that's
just to
right.
miss the shot.
It
It's
goes in-
so bad.
The
Well,
whole
and it-
thing is trash.
Here's the
I
thing.
know, but it's like he's about to drop the apple. Looks so, and then you're like, why is he about to drop the apple? Just for him to move that inch, and it goes. Pink!
I appreciate they didn't.
This is bad.
I appreciate they didn't marry Sue, our elderly.
Female?
Well, either our elderly Romulan dudes. But instead, they made the assassins the dumbest people we've
Yeah,
ever
exactly.
encountered on the
They're-
planet.
Oh, yes.
The fact that-
Unbelievably
The fact
incompetent.
that if their goal is to kill Picard, or even just incapacitate him, we've seen
missed.
we've seen things in Star Trek, and obviously their
shot the
goal is
wrong
to,
guy.
I mean, obviously their goal is to kill him, right? Because they said, oh, we don't have a stun setting on.
That's
our weapons.
stupid. I'm sorry. That's
Old
dumb.
canon though. That is old canon.
That is old canon.
That is canon. You would think they would eventually do it, but yes, that
You
technically
think they'd
is
want to like capture people for intel? That might be useful.
granted. I agree, but the point that is canon. So I'm not gonna, if we can say it's stupid canon, but at least it's that at least
Okay, fine.
The one time they'll actually use canon.
Right, they follow things
The
that
one
you're like,
time
oh
they
my
use
God.
canon. they're like,
The dumbest things.
So they get assaulted by at least 6 Black
7.
Op level agents, and they are the most incompetent people. If you're guys to kill them, throw a freaking grenade in there. Oh wait, we've seen it in Star Trek. They have this thing called wideband stun settings and
True.
wideband like. With the technology level, like the fact that they're not they can literally transport a bomb in there, transport them out of there.
Yep.
There's a huge list of things that they should have been able to take these guys down without even. I mean, they had the drop on them.
They could have even came to the front door and been like, "We have a pizza for Mr. Picard." I mean, anything.
Yeah,
smart enough to turn off the alarms.
Pizza for JL.
Smart enough to turn off the alarms, but not smart enough to kill 3 old people.
Right.
One of them,
who were
who's
not
so
ready.
old, when he got through on the ground, would have broken his hip and his back and both of his arms and his neck.
Yeah, this scene was just so dumb. And then our doctor friend shows up at the end.
Oh, no. Don't. One last thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you explain to me why when the Black Ops people started showing up, one of them grabbed a bottle of wine, the other one grabbed a knife, and yet there were 3 weapons that were hidden under furniture? Why, when they had all the time in the world, wouldn't you go to the firearms that are under the furniture? No, instead, they pick things that make no sense. They take 15 seconds for the people to come in. They start fighting. And man, wouldn't you know it? Those bad guys are the unluckiest people because every single time they threw one of the good guys on the ground, it was right next to one of the weapons that they'd stowed away just for such an occasion.
It was
scene.
almost as if the script was calling for a build-up in this non-organic way, and it didn't come out organic.
It comes into
either.
that we needed an action scene, and Star Trek's never been a good fisticuffs action show. Like,
No, that's true.
I don't know. Maybe the originals.
I don't know.
TOS, you might.
Worf
Good old
and
ripped
the
shirt and a
Borg
few
was always
punches
fun to
across,
watch.
you know,
Yeah,
Chadwick's
Worf,
face.
Worf at least was strong enough to like.
And then the
actually-
Borg would be like, "Oh, Worf never won a fight. Never. He was the Klingon security, and he never won a fight. Whatever
poor
alien
Worf.
species
I
they
love
came
Worf,
up with
though.
was always stronger,
I wish we had
more
him in the
powerful, or it was Data.
I would have.
You
that's
felt
true.
bad
Love
for
to see
Worf. Worf's
Worf
like,
in this.
I need to go on a different ship
Yeah.
because
So well,
everyone's
okay.
too big.
I'm going to Defiant,
But-
and then I'm going to go ramming speed.
So they do this
With
thing,
the
and
tiniest.
That's right.
the
She
thing.
comes in.
Well,
Well, here
he
we'll-
goes for ramming. It's the tiniest ship possible.
Hey, at least she killed someone.
Yeah,
I give her
she-
credit.
No, she was fine. She grabbed a weapon and shot somebody. She was smart. Great.
It was also, although on the other
I
hand,
don't care
her little
about her
spiel
whining
about why
afterward,
she
though.
should come, and she's like, "I killed somebody for you."
I thought that was fun. Come on, that's hilarious. I mean,
Little bloodthirsty.
that was a funny thing because like someone's saying in the background, you could hear the guy going, "Oh crap, who am I letting on my ship?" He's like, crap, who am I letting on the ship? He's like,
That's what I'd be thinking.
he's like,
oh,
he's like,
a
is
psycho?
She like a psycho murderer, and you're like,
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
You're like, no, she
What am I
just was
running?
she
I
actually
killed you.
legitimately tried to self defense. I have no problem with that.
Daycare
Again,
for
the
the
weapons look
criminally
terrible.
insane.
Like the weapons designs themselves look
they're
so
stupid.
terrible and clunkily big. And like, if you're going,
had phasers.
Like, have you not? Like, we look at military stuff, right? You go back to SG-1 show. The reason they use the P90 and stuff like that, it's tight weapon,
Compact.
in the space.
Yep.
Yeah,
Super
you
useful.
Move quickly. These things are like you're trying to barrel reel a 12-foot long pole in a space, and they're like, and you're like, that's
Yeah,
not
it's like carrying a French
Pick your
baguette everywhere, and then thinking
pick your weapon
you know,
for what your target in the space is, and so it was really weird they chose to. Again, it's
And
just
one more
that's-
thing for weapons.
Yep, go ahead.
Why do they make noises all the time? I mean,
Like a
they
charging
come
sound?
around a corner and it's like the charging. I'm like, okay, you're telling me that you guys can't make silent weapons? Why? I mean, you're all you're telling people is someone's coming to the door. I'm gonna come and kill you. It's like the equivalent of a shotgun, except for shotguns are used defensively typically, and that noise is useful. Instead, they're like,
Oh, I should turn it
They're like,
around.
"Oh, someone's
I shouldn't-
coming."
I shouldn't rob this house.
Yeah. So moving on, we have now they captured one of the Romulan dudes who looks like the most out of shape Black Ops dude ever. Like I don't know if he's supposed to be like a joke of like honestly I'm saying I don't know if he's supposed to be like a joke of Southerners
Seriously.
when they have like a Southerner. Oh, he's supposed to be a Northerner, right? They're like, oh,
Yes.
darn Northerners.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is totally a Doctor
I know they're
Who
like
reference.
northern.
Which is totally a Doctor
He's
Who ripoff.
stubborn, just like you.
Which is totally a Doctor Who
Northerner.
rep though, because like, oh, don't every Northerners have every planet has a north, and you're like, okay,
Even
That's true.
Romulus.
you're like, all right. I'm like, I can appreciate that in Doctor Who, not Star Trek.
I thought that
But anyway,
was stupid.
So this
Wait. How can they be Northern or Southerners at all? Their planet's gone.
too soon. Anyway, so he pulls the same thing, and of course, no one mentions that. Hey, they have
Oh, no.
acid
If you-
blood.
Acid blood.
Can you explain to me why she sprayed his face like a cat
I think that's supposed to be funny.
to wake him up? She's like, no, don't hit him. She's all,
I think that's why I said I wish she was coming on the. Honestly, I wish Laris and Saban were coming on the ship with them. Like, why did they not bring? Like, it's not like their crew is big, right? They have one captain. We have the captain, we have the doctor, and we have the girl that doesn't need to come with us. Why didn't they just bring these two guys? I would love these two to go on the ship with them. They're freaking hilarious.
How come she got to punch the Romulan? He's like, I want to do it. She's like, no, I want to do it. No. And then she's like,
it almost made it sound like he was just like, going to kill him too. Like he was
the Jean Valjean was like, you're a jerk. And she's like, oh, how dare you call Picard a jerk? And smacked him across the face.
Yeah. So here, watch this. So he dissolves. Ready? We'll play that really fast.
Stupid.
He dissolves and spits
Nothing else
acid.
does.
So obviously that's not a blood thing. That is the thing we talked about in the first episode, which is
Yeah, like
obviously
a
a
cyanide
pill
pill
version of it.
Yeah.
But so that means that like whatever he's activating his entire blood to become acidic now, because that's what it made it look like in this one.
Yeah.
It didn't look so the same in the first one because
That's going to hit the weapon and blew up, so it kind of preemptively beat it. I'm okay with
yeah,
that.
it's like this one,
That
it's
does
like-
feel relatively consistent. So at least they're keeping that what we theorized, which wasn't a blood thing. It was an actual like weapon to destroy evidence.
Exactly.
I'm fine
Which
with that.
makes sense.
I mean, that made sense. Like, people, that's a cyanide pill thing is a thing. So he kills himself, no information given, which, surprise.
I didn't use it earlier, I guess, is odd to me.
This scene here didn't make much. Oh, that's right. Everyone's pissed at her now. Oh, I wanted to see one thing here. Let's scroll back here just. Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah. So while you're scrolling, since we're coming back to the Borg scene, she used one of her stupid, ridiculous lines was she says, I want to be able to create a therapeutic shared mystical framework from the Romulan mythos. And that's how they were going to communicate with all the Romulans, which, first of all, how come all the disconnected Romulans are autistic? Yeah, stupid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then number
so
two,
they cut to that.
she's
Yeah,
like,
so
we're
she
going to have a
goes,
shared...
It's like they're almost trying to say like their brains after being assimilated don't like come back to normal afterward. Like,
Yeah.
There's no
Weird,
healing.
right? And then there's she wants to create this shared mythos. I'm thinking to myself, she's like, oh, Ramda here, she's an expert in Romulan mythos. I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you would need to find the lowest common denominator of person so that everyone could share the mythos. That's like the equivalent of, this gal had was a Greek expert. Therefore, we're going to use her ideological mythos to connect everyone together. And it's like, well, I know about as much Greek as I know about Russian. Nothing. So
Right.
Why would that be the combining mythology that you'd create this therapeutic mythical framework, which again, we know is just full of crap because it's the same thing with news being oh my gosh, she said the word news. That's like creating a theological method that I can create an architectural framework that they can understand when we reunite their minds in the, collective brain. I was like, stop it. Stop it.
Oh my God, really? Oh my God, really?
Oh my God. I totally know what
Really?
you mean.
I'm going to use that in things. Well, that brings it because I know Joel. That's I guess we're pretty much two. But so now one of the twins was a destroyer. Are they both destroyers?
Oh, here we go.
One's
That's what I was trying
supposed
to
be the
find. I was trying to find who she stole the weapon from.
Rando security guard Romulan black guy.
Okay. Because I was trying
Is
to
that the
figure
one that gets then taken out?
Yeah. I was trying to figure out
He's the
who
one
it was.
okay. That's what they say. He's the one who should be disciplined.
He's like, we're going to punish you.
You just felt stupid because I was like, typical, right? They're like, oh, no one does a thing. Here we go. There we go. Is it that guy?
Yeah, it's the guy they blamed.
I don't
the
know.
black guy
It's
that gets
badly.
blamed.
Again, it's stupid.
I thought the guy who got blamed was like one of the assassinated Romulans because the scene just.
Again, this
I don't
is
even know
why
what's
this
going
scene,
on.
I hate everything on this scene. The Borg cube so far is stupid. That's why
Yeah.
literally
Plus-
I have number one, the dog, ahead of everything. Well, I should have put that above the cube.
Calling her the destroyer. I mean, really? She's partly, again, this is building someone supposedly it's like, she's like, no, she's the sweet, nice girl. And then it's like, bum, 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 no, she's a destroyer. And it's like, guys, we saw this kind of stupid build up already. There's nothing clever about what you guys are doing right now.
There we go. Look at
So
almost
just
kiss.
why-
It's
Almost
just
kiss.
more just
Yeah,
convoluted.
I know, right?
Almost kiss. They're
And-
like,
The brother looks like he wants it. He's like, you know what? I could go for
he
round two.
does.
I mean, I just
So annoying.
had sex with a sex doll, but we can do the real thing. No
right.
big
That's
deal.
what he considers her. So
Yeah.
moving to the end of this show, they're on discussing it. Yep, we need to
I
get off
think
here. Blah blah
Can
blah.
you keep a secret?
Oh God, I did forget
I
that.
think I'm falling in love with you.
And that literally my comment on my notes is, "Run, girl, run." Like, isn't that legitimately like considered like they've been 2 days? Now, granted, the timeline here is weird because
I have
Worst
no idea how
dialogue.
many days.
she's able to go
Horrible.
the girl on the Federation girl who's a spy.
What's my point?
Was able to go from the Federation to the Borg cube in time, and we know like in Star Trek that's a couple days.
grow
at
her
least.
pointy ears back.
Well, that's a procedure. That's fast. We can know they do that. They do that in Voyager all the time. So they get on the ship. Cool. Look at.
This is what I was telling you, Joel. Time doesn't matter to these guys. Like in the last episode when it was night and day and day and night, and it was like, what? Even though they're in the same places, but nothing was happening. They spent 5 minutes on the Borg cube, 30 minutes if we want to use up, say she used up all of her time, and they've gone through a day and a half here on Earth. And these people are too stupid to understand relativity, and you can't use relativity because everyone would be dead. So it doesn't make any sense for the time frame that they're.
Well, yeah. And to wrap up the last of the characters, Raffi had to finish the episode up with another terrible scene with her having whiplash because she's like, I'm going with you to the location, but it's a secret on why I'm going because I can't tell you because I'm edgy and I'm angry at you. And you're like, another personality change after investigating the stuff, and now we're wondering about Romulan spies inside the Federation on Earth, and another whiplash thing. So yeah, she's all over the map. And then that wraps the episode up. Picard says engage.
To me why Jean Valjean's, who was captured, told Picard that we'll find her before you do, even though his entity knows where she is already?
Again, I feel like there's conflicting.
Why would you even make a challenge?
We know there's conflicting.
Like that?
Now, looking at this, we have conflicting entities all over the place, so they don't really make sense on what their goals are. Again, that's the problem with this mystery box, right? We're episode 3 in, and we've just left Earth. We've just met our crew, and it's just a bunch of like threads out there. Threads, lots of loose little threads out there.
Can you explain to me the cat fight?
Fight
happened between the scientist and Raffi? Because she gets on the ship and she's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "I'm here to help." And Picard's like, "She's the foremost expert in synth," which all he did was duplicate exactly what
that was
she
just
said.
supposed to be like,
and she's like,
trust
I need to do a security check. Blah blah blah. I'm like, wait a minute, you don't like Picard? Remember, he's a terrible person who ruined your life. Because,
that's what I'm saying. The whiplash. 1 second she has to inspect somebody. The next second she's like, "Oh, I hate you." Yeah.
Also, a heads-up display for flying is stupid.
It looks so awful.
Yeah, it's like here, and he's like rotating. He's like, "Yeah, I'm about to take her out." I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, and then again, middle finger. Don't play the TNG theme at the end of this when you're flying off. Screw you.
Well, you knew they were going to do that.
You.
Yeah.
I know, but it's like,
come on.
Like,
engage.
Yeah, I feel like his head, the graphic.
Here's the thing, I don't mind the engage, whatever. The engage I can give, but it's like, don't play the theme song then. Play your new theme song. Don't play the old theme song as if you're like, see, guys, here you go. It's like, you really want me to hate you now.
It's just
this episode was crap.
Yeah,
it was bad.
It's a filler.
This was bad.
But so we got our. Let's see. I'll go to the next last slide here. Oh, there we go.
I liked how the scientist was like begging to come along on the trip, and it's like she clearly has no sense of socialness because she should realize that Picard's desperate for any living, breathing thing to come on the trip.
Her convincing is, I want to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is fine.
Yeah,
because
seriously. But she's like, no, I'm the best, and I'm really invested, and I need to be here. And he's like, yeah, you got the job. She's like, no, let me continue. He's like, no, seriously, you got the job. She's like, no, I need to continue. I need to tell you how amazing I am.
There's some truth to that. Again, so far,
the drummer from Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
It's true.
That's who she is.
It is true. In the first episode, we said that I was still on the fence on our character, and I still am because she's only had about 30 seconds of screen time in this episode.
True.
So
it's always spazzy.
So I can't really judge her yet. Luckily, she's toned down since that first thing. So. Yep.
Okay. Do we honestly believe that she didn't know who Commodore O was, and then again, we'll take for granted that she didn't know who Commodore O was, but she was completely willing to be like, oh, this random stranger who found me has all the security clearances, the most powerful person in the world, without some type of verification. Okay. And then
we don't need to know that.
Wear sunglasses. It made her.
But then as the audience, we're supposed to believe that she just wanted to come with Picard now. All of a sudden. Come on.
They were already vibing that. I'll be surprised if she's a turncoat or anything like that because I felt like
I do agree with you though, Philip. It did feel weird for her to have that interaction. Then she's showing up 2 seconds behind, like a minute behind than the assassins, and she's like, I shot him. It's like,
yeah.
That's oddly convenient.
I told O everything, but I didn't tell her that I wanted to come too.
Oh, also, most likely it was the other girl because O told the other girl, don't kill Picard. And so far, they never showed them interact. They have not shown O and her subordinate interacting since that one scene. Again, this show has a lot of not keeping characters in the same space very well or time frame. And granted, too, the Doctor was only shown her going with our Men in Black / CSI reference girl coming in and going, "We need to talk," and you're like, okay. And then did you most likely you transported her back to Starfleet? They chatted. Again, you say, "Oh, does she know who she is?" Well, I doubt they had the conversation on the beach. I'm sure that they were transported instantly back to Starfleet and then had a conversation.
Right. And then they tagged her and put a GPS on her, and they'll know wherever she's going. And they've mic'd her because they're trying to get.
Now
come on. There's so many stupid things involved with that. It screams of. And that hits at the very least, she's just being used as a tracker. At the very most, she's a ridiculous turncoat.
Interesting theory, though. The tracker one could be. I don't think she's a turncoat because the way they introduced her as a character. I think she's supposed to be like Picard's best man.
We just talked about character whiplash. You think they care about keeping consistent characters? They might make her the actual bad guy. They'll be like, just kidding. She's actually the actual bad guy.
She's the one that programmed the robots to kill everyone.
She's actually Maddox and turned himself into a woman, and that's Maddox now playing all the cards to bring all the synths together. And he's actually the one who put.
Dude, that's way too smart. Again, that's way too smart,
actually,
man.
I mean, at this point,
too smart.
They would do that stuff.
No, that's too smart. See, the problem is with that, Philip. I actually wouldn't hate that if it was done well. That's why it's too smart. Because that called planning and intricate
maybe
detail.
I should become a writer and write a television show.
At this point, it almost makes it sound that Dodge and then her twin sister Dodge 2.0 are the ones that reprogram the sentience. I'm kind of feeling like there's like they clear if they're now the destroyers, if they're now then maybe around the time from when the Borg cube came from, which where it would have been that time frame. It sounds like they had something to do with it.
I don't see
it sounds like they might, and especially if they're able to control and get this information.
I don't see the connecting pieces yet, Christopher, but I think the thing that you see though is obviously there's someone still pulling strings because when she called her mom to ask about her sister, her mom's like, "No, everything's fine." So there's
put her into a trance or knocked her out.
Into a trance, yeah.
It was clearly coded message.
Yeah, so
put her around and give her more information, or
which I agree with Joel. It doesn't. I don't think they're. I think the only thing that the destroyer thing was just to say that she's part Borg.
And here's the thing too, it doesn't work.
I think that's all.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, because timeline wise, if you think about it, the cube they started 16 years ago, and she's only existed for about 3 years. They said,
at least her history.
Yeah. So,
but which would make sense that they would have backdated history when they actually created her. So yes, I agree.
Yeah. Again, you start having the little plot things that you're like, where's this going to? We can start theorizing too far down a road that doesn't have to have any meaning to it because
I guess it's just okay. I guess that makes sense because they said they're both the destroyers, but it was just weird too. Then they're like, "Are you the one that lives or dies?"
Well, one already died.
Well, yeah, one already died.
Right. So well, and that's again, I think that was to get her to talk to her sister again. A lot of this stuff is designed not. I think you got to be careful of overanalyzing it. It's kind of like when everyone overanalyzed the Force Awakens and had amazing 25 page long theories about what's going to happen in The Last Jedi, and then everything that
none of them said Palpatine was coming back in the end.
There was a couple, but
see, that's the thing. You have to be able to dissect between your own fan fiction of like, wow, look, watch, I can connect all the dots. It's like, yeah, sure. Anybody can connect a random stream of dots that have already happened, as opposed to actually predicting what the people are writing.
I also hated this. I don't know if it's a total jump here, but the ship jumps here into space. And they do a terrible job on the warp effect. I don't know why warp effects now are a hard thing to do since they've been doing it since the freaking forever ago.
Well, you know what's funny? It reminded me of a video game. It's not very good.
Ready? Here we go. Slow.
And also,
slow. And the ship's actually not bad design. Looking at it, actually, I'm gonna pause that because I don't have any more before we go on the ship design, any other notes for you guys? Because that's pretty much my full list of everything that I felt was. Again, it's just there's not.
Yeah,
really...
I mean, I think we basically hit it. I mean, like I said, the JL thing is painful. I already brought the bad acting with Raffi. Bad dialogue. Marijuana.
Politics. I'm sticking to this one. That first part of this, that first scene with Picard and Raffi was definitely
Yeah, it felt like a
politics,
reshoot
especially-
too. To be honest, I bet that was a reshoot. It had a feeling of a
But it-
reshoot.
but especially at that point,
why?
it's like I never assumed
Because they needed a
Starfleet
new
would fall
diverse
into
character?
intolerance and fear.
No, not because that, Philip. I think because they might have changed some story elements to it.
Gotcha.
The way it was shot, the way it was like, it felt like just one of the two characters. We do have a couple good elements. We do enjoy that the captain smokes cigars. So that means we
Yeah,
can
we
hang
did
out with
like
him.
that. That's true.
We
Cigars
also,
are good.
We
Cigars are
also thought that he might be an interesting captain, maybe because they might be quirky enough without.
Like you said, if he's a neurotic narcissist who has multiple personalities talking to him, that's actually pretty amusing. I agree. But on
interesting
the other
character.
hand, the main captain's personality of I don't need to heal wounds and I'm a macho strong. I mean, look, I'm a masculine dude. I'm legit. But you know what? Walking around wounded is stupid and dumb, and only people who would write something like that have never suffered more than a paper cut in their life to understand the
that was a
physical ramifications.
They'd have to
it's
suffer less than
unbelievable.
that felt
cut.
more like, you remember the episode of Parks and Rec when Ron Swanson rips out his tooth in front of everyone to make them feel like they're manly, but in reality the tooth actually been already previously pulled out. That was what that scene was designed to do. Like, it was, but in a serious way, because like that whole scene was, he's like, yeah, I pulled my tooth out. Gotta keep him thinking that I'm really extra tough. Just, he's like a tough dude, legitimately actually a skilled dude. They're like,
Which is super funny because the thing that made him seem even cooler was when he took the light sconce off, cut it in half, and made the rings. See, in my mind, that's real.
oh no,
that's
but that was the joke of the funniness.
That's industry.
And I feel like
Yeah,
this
it's
guy,
true.
the
Right.
captain, this scene was designed around that idea of like, we're gonna prove how manly he is, and you're like,
And it was
yeah, that's not manly. That's dumb.
stupid.
Like, why would you want your tissues in your arm to be damaged, not healed correctly with the dermal regenerator, which literally can heal? Like just a dermal regenerator from Star Trek would be one of the greatest tools,
Right?
at burn victims.
Yeah.
Just any type of like laceration.
whoever invented that would become
Darn him and his white privilege.
a trillionaire. It wouldn't. You'd be the richest person in the universe.
Yeah, because just the supplemental technologies on that, you could just license that out and be like, yeah, just give me $10 every time you use it, and they're like, okay, and you would literally be, yeah, you'd be
Exactly.
So so pretty much what we got on that. And
Cigars are cool. I agree.
some consequences for stuff. Cool, that's fine. I know it's in your
like-
notes, Christopher.
I put that one on there. More.
What
more-
consequences?
'cause I know
I missed it on the graphic here. Unfortunately, it cut off.
What consequences?
I think he was talking about Starfleet when Starfleet's like,
Oh, calling his bluff.
yeah,
calling his bluff. I mean, a little bit of that, and admittedly, I hate the way that they do it for the rest of it because of how his first in command bitches about it. Excuse my language, but it's like, but at the same time, I don't mind a world in where where at least actions have consequences, and there can be something of that where Star Trek doesn't always, because again, how it's written, there's not always some of that. So I did enjoy it in that sense. I was like, oh, there has been some consequences for some choices. Although how people have responded to those choices, like I said, I think it's ridiculous that you would fire her, just fire an officer just willy-nilly because of something else on there. But at the same time, it's like, I like that there is consequences. Again, the fact that then she runs away from those consequences and goes, well, now I'm just mad at you because I didn't make anything of myself for the next 14 years, even though, as you said, Philip, I know everything and I can figure out everything, but I couldn't find a job in the private sector somewhere. Like
Yeah,
really? What did you do?
I didn't understand that one. at all.
We work to better ourselves. That's what you just need to replay. Every single time she says a word, you just need to replay Picard in First Contact. We need to better ourselves. We work to better ourselves. And she's like, no, I work to smoke my snake vape, okay? So I can get high.
I need my snake
That's all I
leaf.
work for. You're like, okay.
Yeah, it was dumb.
I'm
So-
angry, but if I get my snake leaf, I'm paranoid. So you figure out my problems, Picard. I mean, JL.
And-
JL.
Right? Because you get to drink your alcohol and your heirloom pieces. And I was thinking to myself, some of the furniture in there was actually crappy.
Your
I
Earl
wouldn't- I
Grey
wouldn't
and your
want it.
chateau.
Yeah, again, it was dumb. So our new ship is obviously going to be in the main part. I don't, from the look of it, I don't mind it. It's obviously not Starfleet design, or like main ship design,
watch
which
the
is
warp.
fine.
Let's watch the warp again.
Oh, the warp is terrible, but I was just looking at the ship. Like, I don't
You didn't
mind.
show it.
It's kind of cool looking. We'll play the warp
Yeah,
here,
it
though.
looks like a fighter. It looks more fighter than anything.
which I'm okay with. Like, it's supposed to be stealthy.
Which is cool with me. I would love to see some real dogfighting.
So what's weird is here is like they over
You're
zoomed
not getting
the
that.
warp space. Like they did too much
Light instead of the
glow.
Street, yeah.
And so it ends up being like, if you look at it, how it jumped, like it just wasn't done well. It's
very JJ.
It just bugged me. It's one of those
the
things.
same.
Where,
aesthetic as the JJ stuff, and it's minus the weird sparkly like
Chemtrail.
fairy. Yeah, the fairy dust at the end.
I'll be honest. I actually kind of liked the update on the.
I hate it.
The warp.
But you like that little blue crystalline like.
Oh, I meant to show the other ship design here.
That was
We
horrible.
did get to see a better version of this here. Let me just slow this one down.
The bombers, the
Yeah,
laser,
it was
the
weird.
phaser bombers,
I did
which
notice
doesn't make any sense.
There was
but
another shot here. Let me pull to it.
It doesn't make sense.
It was
doesn't.
weird. Well, if you look at them,
What
though,
of this does make sense?
I mean, unless they were just mining ships, so you only needed
oh, here we go. This is what I was looking at.
posterior-
This shot. That's what I wanted to see.
an anterior laser or phaser. Fine, I can understand that. But why?
So they have like that thing, like that little like shuttle like type thing, like go like to full speed here.
Satellite. It's a satellite laser. It looks like it's like a laser grid above.
So they
like
show
a
like
laser
one scene. So they
satellite
like show like these like little like hot clips right in the beginning of the episode. I'm like, why just not
grid, which annoys me because it's like
Oh,
again,
that
why
wasn't
more
just
to it? Is there more to that storyline?
again?
Then
Why
tell
were
us.
why were these? You know, these are like kind of pickup notes. Why were these just laying around the room? Right? These are like seem like
Right.
they're an actual like pretty aggressively
Weapon?
/ tool. They're just like, nah, we hang these on the wall. Like
Right. Slicing
people-
through people's
If anything,
faces.
what is the real purpose of that? Is it a tool or was it actually a weapon?
secretly you just push a
like-
button, and it turns into a weapon. They're like, oh yeah.
Right? Looks like a tool
Or
to
it's just
me.
like yeah, like you said, it's like you know, it'd be like having a welder. but
this was
clearly you
interesting,
shouldn't put a
though.
welder to human flesh.
Like they said Mars was still burning, and I'm like, well, maybe it is still with this kind of thing going on. I know we were joking at that, but like, were they nuking it? Like those are huge sections of like space. Like this is probably a radius of a couple hundred miles.
But again, it still wouldn't be fire. You wouldn't. I mean,
It would cool down.
nothing
yeah.
would be on fire.
There's nothing to burn eventually, but it's just weird. Like you're like,
Burning
what?
atmosphere.
Why were they bombing just middle of Mars? They're like, yeah, we just started throwing nukes out in Mars.
Well, I mean, I guess it would be like if they were disrupting the antimatter stations and destroying those things. I'm
I mean,
sure
you see the
going
lines
critical
here.
would be problematic.
Again, you see that someone did the work, that put the work into the visual effect here, which actually looks pretty good for a show.
Yeah, I agree.
They put the work in design. Here's the oh, you don't see my mouse.
But not the
well, yeah,
thoughtfulness
like,
for why.
On the upper right, you see like the circles where there's like different city stuff. But I mean, like,
Is that damage then from what the synths were doing, or is that damage from the Federation responding to the synths?
we don't know yet. I'm
I still
assuming
think-
the sense nuked
like-
themselves. It seemed like from what we both all agreed on,
Right.
which they seem like they just
Destroyed themselves after. Yeah.
That doesn't really make much sense.
I
really.
just assumed that they were destroying these shipyard bases and you'd had antimatter explosions going off. It's kind of what I
maybe.
assumed.
Yeah, you could see
And
that.
maybe I'm filling in for their crappy storyline. Even I am subject to that every once in a while. Even I make that mistake.
Yeah, so I mean that.
Please don't make us
Star Wars
watch that
enough, you
scene.
have to.
That's
No,
the
we
worst.
won't make you watch the scene again.
Don't.
Dragon
There's
fruit.
the snake leaf. Look at that.
I'm
snake leaf right
conflicted
there.
by the intro. I kind of like the intro in some ways, but on the other hand, they've almost made the Borg cube look pretty instead of menacing.
I mean,
And
made it like
they're
a
obviously
centerpiece.
building in like this. What we'll have to do like a. Before, we won't even go into that today because maybe we'll do a breakdown of the visual effects on that one because there's definitely a feel of that. There's elements of like genetic DNA in there mixed with like cybernetic DNA type thing.
Yeah.
like mixing those visualistics. So it'll be interesting to see if we could actually go frame by frame with that in the future and
That'd
at
be
least see
kinda
what elements because I don't want to do that right now. But
No, I agree. No.
there's some elements that I'm like, are these going to apply later on? Or they just, someone was like, do something cool. And then they made something cool. Again, it works for the show, but it doesn't really feel right for the show. But I think that's
No,
our,
like I said, Sherlock,
I think we
sure.
all, it is kind of Sherlock, isn't it? But I think that's all our thoughts for this episode. Thank you for joining us. Like and subscribe on the video feed. I'm just thinking like there's anything else we can talk about, but I'm like, no, you know what? It is what it is
you know
in this one.
You know what we could talk about? If you're going to smoke something, folks, smoke a cigar. According to the FDA, a cigar a day is good for your heart health.
I
Fact.
don't know if that's true. Do not listen to that.
No,
It-
there's
it-
there's
it is-
an article.
I
It's-
can confirm
It's
that is.
a legitimate
by the
publication from the FDA.
Oh, goodness.
But here's the thing about it: they don't say it's. They say it's.
So
better-
there's your medical
don't they
tip
don't
for
they,
the
Don't
week.
they go more at saying it's better than other forms of tobacco, like clearly cigarettes?
I'm
and
just going to
other things
say,
like that, not so
don't
much
take
it's
that
okay.
advice. If you choose to smoke wisely.
If you want something
Smoke a cigar.
smoky, get a nice little oolong tea.
Yes. Yes,
Oolong tea.
It's quite delicious. Great stuff.
And a log of
we'll have, to do,
oolong.
we'll have to do an episode of that. The
Yes.
oolong tea of Picard. They actually would have drank. So
What a real man.
we'll be back for episode 4 here next week. Join us. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Engage.